Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Avadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatam Aham Vande Sri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna. So text 8 goes like this. So we will take turns reading each of these verses and also the purport. So first I will do the first one, text 8. Sutauvacha chodito vidure naivam vasudeva katham prati prashasyatham pritamana maitreya pratyabhashatha. So the translation is like this. Sutta Goswami continued. When Vidura became inspired to hear of the activities of Lord Krishna in his various incarnations, Maitreya, also being inspired and being very pleased with Vidura, began to praise him. Then Maitreya spoke as follows. So let's see. I will not do the purport, so we can go to the next. Yeah, text 9. So I see some hands already up now. Yeah. Anasuya Mataji, you want to start?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, pranams Prabhuji. Maitreya uvacha yada bhishiktaha pruturanga viprair aman trito janata yasya palaha praja niranneshita prishta etya shutchama deha patamabhyavochan. Thank you Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Translation, somebody else can read.
Hare Krishna. Vasudha Mataji, you can read the translation. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Danvat Pranam. Translation, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The great sage Maitreya continued, My dear Vidura, at the time King Prithu was enthroned by the great sages and Brahmanas and declared to be the protector of the citizens, there was a scarcity of food grains. The citizens actually became skinny due to starvation. Therefore, they came before the king and informed him of their real situation. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji. So text, the next one, which is 10 and 11 together. So somebody can do.
Hare Krishna. Nemisha Mataji, you can read the shloka. And Barnali Mataji can read the translation. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Nemisha Mataji, we can't hear you.
Maybe there is some connection issue. I don't know.
Barnali Mataji, you can read the shloka. And Swarupini Mataji, you can read the translation. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Vayam Rajan Jatharena Vitapta Jathagnina Kutarasmi Sthena Vriksha Tvam Adayata Saranam Sharanyam Yasadhito Vrittikara Patirna Tannuvavam Ihatu Ratavinam Sutra Dhitanam Nara Deva Deva Yavannanan Nankashamaha Ujjitorja Vartapati Swam Kila Lokapalaha. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you so much, Mataji. The translation?
Hare Krishna translation. Dear King, just as a tree with a fire burning in the hollow of the trunk gradually dries up, we are drying up due to the fire of hunger in our stomachs. You are the protector of surrendered souls, and you have been appointed to give employment to us. Therefore, we have all come to you for protection. You are not only a king, but the incarnation of God as well. Indeed, you are the king of all kings. You can give us all kinds of occupational engagements, for you are the master of our livelihood. Therefore, O King of all kings, please arrange to satisfy our hunger by the proper distribution of food grains. Please take care of us, lest we should soon die for want of food. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol. Number 12. Shilpa Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Tanvat Pranam Prabhu.
Done.
Maitreya Uvacha Prituhu Prajanam Karanam Nishmya Paridevitam Dirdhyam Dadhyo Kurukshe Shrestha Nimitam Saunva Padyata. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Vasudha Mataji can do.
Hare Krishna, pranams, translation by Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. After hearing this lamentation and seeing the pitiable condition of the citizens, King Prithu contemplated this matter for a long time to see if he could find out the underlying causes. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Pranam.
Hare Krishna. The last one, Kripamai Mataji.
Prabhuji, thank you, Prabhuji. Am I audible, Prabhuji?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hare Krishna. Idhi vaya vasito buddhiya pragadi hita sarasanaha sandadi vishikam bhumi kudusti puraha yata. Translation? Shall I read, Prabhuji?
Naimisha Mataji, your hand is up. Let's see if you can read the translation now.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Last
Thank
time
you.
we could not get your voice actually. Yeah, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Danvat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. Having arrived at a conclusion, the king took up his bow and arrow and aimed at them at the earth, exactly like Lord Shiva, who destroys the whole world out of anger. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Danvat Pranam.
Hari Bol. Thank you so much. So thank you all Matajis for reading those verses so wonderfully, and also the translation. Purports we are not covering as always, because I'll try to cover them as we speak. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishnas Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschayata Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, so Hare Krishna once again to all the devotees. So seeking the blessings of all the senior Matajis and Prabhus who are here. Kindly bless me so that I'll be able to do some justice to these wonderful verses. I'm doing this as a service to the Lordships and for the pleasure of the Lordships, as a service to the Guru Parampara and for my own purification. Hare Krishna. So now verse number 8, I think, Mataji, maybe we can stop this sharing. I mean, that's okay. 4.7.8, Sutta Uvacha, Kodito Vidure Naivam Vasudeva Katam Prati Prashasyatham Pritamana Maitreya Pratyabhashata. So, this particular chapter, all you all know, is Maharaj Prithu becomes angry at Earth, Mother Earth. So, why he becomes angry? So, we'll try to see. But here, they are taken a small pass, especially this particular verse, verse number 8, where Sutta Vacha, Sukadev Goswami is saying, Sutta Goswami is saying that when Vidura became inspired to hear the activities of Lord Krishna in his various incarnations, then Maitreya, also being inspired and being very pleased with Vidura, began to praise him. Then Maitreya spoke as follows subsequently. So there is this conversation that is happening. So Prabhupada actually brings out the essence of Krishna Katha there, or the topics about Lord Krishna. So Krishna Katha, topics about Krishna, Shrimad Bhagavatam is all only that. There is nothing else in this in the Shrimad Bhagavatam, so which we are aware of. Now, there are many conversations that happens in the Shrimad Bhagavatam, which most of you are aware. What are the conversations that are happening? Whole Bhagavatam is only conversations, question and answers. So the first conversation is between Sukadev Goswami and who's the other one?
Parikshit Maharaj.
Parikshit Maharaj.
Thank you. So it's always good to remember, refresh these things, And then subsequently, there is another conversation within the conversation which is happening, which is between Sutta Goswami and
Sages of
Sages of
Naimisharanya.
Naimisharanya.
Yeah, thank you so much. So wonderful. So they are also called as Shaunaka Adi.
Saunaka.
Yeah, Shaunaka Adi, headed by Shaunaka Rishi. So some representative has to be there. No? All of them cannot keep asking questions. No? So represented by Shaunaka. That is Shaunaka Adi, Shaunaka and others. So that is another thing. Because why is saying you see all these things come up. Sutta Vacha, and then Parikshit Vacha. So all those conversations happen. Then there is another conversation within which is happening. That's how the narration is taking place. Which is who are the two individuals who are involved in that conversation?
Vidura and Maitreya.
Maitreya and Vidura.
Vidura and Maitreya. Yeah, thank you. So now these conversations, actually Prabhupada says, they are all so wonderful. So the person, each one is inspiring the other. The person who asked the question, his questions are so wonderful that he inspires the speaker. And the speaker, so nicely they are putting up this topic that it inspires the listener to ask questions. So question and answer is our parampara. Contrary to the belief that, in our religion, we'll have to just follow. You can't ask any questions. That is like blind belief, So it got changed off into that somehow because of the impurities that have come in, or because of the degradation that has happened. It is like you ask any youngster outside, they'll say, I have to just to do these many things. There are so many things I have to do. If I ask them why I have to do, I don't get an answer. They just say, no, you just do. So that is because of two things. The person who's asking questions, yes, he wants to know. He or she wants to know. But then the person to whom the questions are being asked, they are not in a position to give an answer which is convincing or which is based on the Shastras, they are not able to. So because we don't have that knowledge, and because that knowledge is not there, we are not able to transfer the knowledge. So the questioning and answering is completely forgotten. Only we remember when we read Shrimad Bhagavatam. Oh, our parampara is, or our Sanatana Dharma is all about question and answers. Even the Gurukula system. Gurukula, you had the sage and then you had the disciples. So the disciples will ask the questions and then the Guru will come out with the answers. And then he will teach. He might give a verbal answer or he might give a practical answer also, where he might put a particular disciple, the person who questions, in a certain scenario whereby he will understand the answer or he will learn by himself. So all these are all stories that we have heard. So let's not forget the fact that it is all about questions and answers. And even in Shrimad, in the Bhagavad Gita also, there is a particular verse which alludes to this questioning and answering. There are many verses, so we will talk about one or rather two verses we will talk about, okay? So which is a verse which talks about questions, question and answering?
Tadvidhi pranipatena.
Yeah, tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya.
Upadekshyanti te jnanam yena tattvadarshinaha.
Hari bol. Thank you so much, Naimisha Bhaktin. Yeah, thank you. So this is all about how to ask a question. So that is what is being discussed there. That is for seeking knowledge. Now, there is another type of questioning that happens, which gives a lot of joy to the person who asks as well as to the person who answers. Which is that verse? Anybody can say. And this questioning is in the Puranas, or it is to do with the pastimes of the Lord majorly.
Atato Brahma Jignasa Prabhuji.
Chitta Madgata Prana. Is it that?
Okay, I was looking at that one. I think it was Sharmila Mataji who said that. Yeah.
Chitta Madgata Prana. Bodhayanta
Prana.
Parasparam.
Yes,
Katayanta Shamam Nityam Tushanti Charamanti Cha.
Thank you so much, Sharmila Mataji. So, Machita Madgata Prana, Bodhayante Parasparam. Kathayantaste Mam Nityam Tushyanti Cha Ramayanti Cha. This is a very important verse for us. You know, what is happening, what is Krishna saying here is that the topics with respect to me, that is with respect to my pastimes, you know, are also, I mean, the thoughts of the pure devotees, you know, they dwell in me, and they derive a lot of satisfaction. There is a lot of satisfaction that is there and bliss in enlightening one another. Hey, you know what happened this, you know what happened that, you know, sometimes in the material world also, there is some movie or a serial story is being discussed. The two interested parties, they might talk in a very excited way. Oh, did you see that? You know, this happened, you know, that fellow, he did that. Oh, really, I missed it. I would like to do it. Tell me more. Or, yeah, I saw that and then it happened like this. So there is a lot of exchange or there is this tushyanti cha ramayanti cha. That means there is a lot of, what do you call, the happiness that is there. And that happiness is being enjoyed, but in a materialistic way. But there is a difference in that kind of enjoyment. What happens? They are all, like you can hear it once, you can hear it twice. The third time, they will not hear it in the same enthusiasm. Will you hear the same story? The first time enthusiasm, what you showed, is not there when you hear it the second or the third time for material stories or mundane stories. We all have a practical experience of that, so I don't have to elaborate much. But when we hear Krishna Katha, then even though the story per se is heard, but the realizations and the rasa is so much that you want to hear it again and again. So there is one word that they use, which is not being satiated. There is a lot of satisfaction, but there is no satiation in that. Satiation means what? Becoming fed up. Like the same example of the story, material story. First time, second time, third time. Oh, that's okay, I know it. Don't tell me. I don't want to hear anymore. So that is satiation point. You reach a point where you become averse to it. You find it repulsive. Like the example, the famous example of gulab jamuns we generally take, right? So somebody who likes gulab jamun, if you eat one, you're very happy. So the joy that is there in the first gulab jamun is not there in the second. Definitely not there in the third, and then in the fourth, and in the fifth, and so on and so forth, depending on each one's capacity. By the time you come to the third or the fourth or even the 10th, you will say no more. And then there'll be a point where the sight of gulab jamun will want to say, please take it away. Don't keep it in my sight. The bowl that has the jamun, take it away. So I don't want it. So that is the point of satiation, where you hate it. You don't want it anymore. But Krishna Katha is not like that. There is satisfaction, but there is no satiation. That means that you want it more and more. So you find this particular word being used in this verse also, I think. Yeah. I'm just trying to see if it is there. I thought I read it. Okay, I'm looking at something else. 1 second. There it is. I'm just highlighting it in the purport. Oh, okay, this is not shared. Never mind. It says that, I'll just read. We have actually seen that one can never become satiated by hearing the conversations between Vidura and Maitreya. So this is that satiation, which means to the point of saying, I don't want it anymore. It's not like that. Both of them, why? Because both of them are devotees of the Lord. And the more Vidura inquired, the more Maitreya was encouraged to speak. So he is inquiring, he is asking questions, and those questions are not taken as a what do you call, as a hindrance to the flow of the speech of Maitreya. Sometimes he'll say, "Na, let me finish, don't ask questions." So that's not how Shrimad Bhagavatam is narrated. There is encouragement, and that encouragement is by the speaker. So he encourages the person to ask questions, and at the same time, the person who is asking questions also equally exalted, because he asks the questions in a way that it benefits not only him, it benefits the whole humanity, because they are very great personalities. Vidura is a great personality. We know that he is very intelligent. He is that Kula Shrestha, the entire Kula of the Kaurava Kula Shrestha he is. He is the most exalted person of that particular Kula. So in this way, they both responsibly hear and speak. And then there is also a lot of joy. That joy we saw in that particular Bhagavad Gita shloka, where tushyanti cha ramayanti cha. So there is no satiation, there is always happiness in these conversations. So those conversations become very endearing to the person who hears as well as the person who speaks. Both benefit. That's a good thing. The person who speaks also benefits, the person who hears also benefits. There is another great this thing that happens, wherever this Bhagavatam is being heard and being spoken, then you find those such similar symptoms. Even with all the kalmashas or the impurities that we have, then each time we are speaking, like I'm speaking, then people hear, I see, like so consistently, always, each one of you log in, and then you are having so much of enthusiasm to hear about Krishna Katha. That enthusiasm is so palpable whenever we come online, sometimes I feel like I wish I had that kind of an enthusiasm that you people are all displaying. So wonderful, and you want to hear more and more, and then keep on hearing. How I know that you all are enthusiastic? In the way that you raise your hands for reading the shlokas. Even though those shlokas are tongue twisters, sometimes we don't get it right, but still you don't hold back. You just want to read it. You just want to do some seva to the Srimad Bhagavatam, and thereby, if not the shlokas, at least the translation, something or the other. And then you all are so eagerly there, always on time, and then you all are listening. So we can see the traces of Tushyanti cha Ramayanti cha in the daily, in the Nityam Bhagavata Seva also that is happening. So this is how Prabhupada is explaining this particular verse. And then, this is, like I said, there's a small break that we are taking from the flow of the conversation. The flow of conversation is about Prithu Maharaj. So now, verse number 8 then talks about back to the main story line. So Maitreya is continuing to speak. So where Maitreya is saying, my dear Vidura, at the time when King Prithu was enthroned by the great sages and Brahmanas and declared to be the protector of the citizens. So we know this past story. We know how Prithu Maharaj was born, and then we know how who was ruling before him. Who was the king who was ruling before Prithu Maharaj?
King Vena.
Ribol, thank you. King Vena. King Vena was a good king or a bad king?
Very bad.
Bad.
Very bad king.
Bad
Thank you.
king.
Yeah, I should have used very. Thank you. So very bad king he was. So because he was a very bad king, what happened? There was no food supply. Who stopped the supply of food?
Mother Earth.
Mother Earth. Yeah. So Mother Earth stopped the supply of food because she withheld those things. So from this, we can understand how Mother Earth actually, if the situation on the ground is not good, if adharma is too much, then who gets affected first? Mother Earth. And because Mother Earth is affected, then her children, who are her children? That is we, the people who are living on the surface of the earth. We also get affected because she withholds. So sometimes, if the mother is upset, there won't be any food that day, or maybe there'll be a very simple food that is being made, right? So we can relate it that way. So immediate effect is seen. If the mother is upset, then the food is not there, or even if it is there, it will be not to the extent that it generally is, or when she is happy, like abundance is not there, or things that I like are not made. Or something very simple is made, and then okay, something is there, you eat it if you want, kind of a thing. So that way, Mother Earth is withholding. Now, Prabhupada actually is bringing out another important aspect. We were saying that King Vena was the king earlier to King Prithu, and Vena was a very bad king. Now, because he was a bad king, he was removed. Who removed him?
The sages.
The sages.
And the Brahmanas. Yeah. So the Brahmanas had the power to remove a king. That's the kind of power that they had. If the king is not fit, then he is removed. And then they brought about another person who's more capable, or most capable. Of course, Prithu Maharaj was the most capable. But in general, their role is to bring a more capable person so that he will then play the role of a king properly. Thereby, if the king is playing the role properly, then who benefits?
The
people.
citizens and Mother Earth.
The people benefit. Yeah. So there is abundance of food. There is good quality of air. Everything is there. What is needed for leading a life which is without any anxiety or worry. The whole underlying principle of comforts is that, so that we don't have any anxiety or worry. So when there is or less anxiety and less worry, don't have to worry too much. There is always somebody. Oh, I can always go to the king. I can always go to the head. So this is the kind of trust and confidence that the king instills in his citizens. So that means that person is a very ideal king. Rama Rajya, they say. In Ram Rajya, what used to happen? The king used to, or Lord Rama, listen to everybody. He listened even to who's the person? What is that example that we hear?
Dhobi.
The Dhobi also. And then he took actions so that the Dhobi also gets satisfied, and you know what happened after that. So, but anyway, that's as the Leela goes. But what the point here is that the king was very approachable. You'll hear of stories where there is a bell and anybody can go and ring the bell, and then the king will come, and then he will give a patient hearing to what you have to say, and so on and so forth. And then people were so satisfied. Today, if you do that system, the bell will be continuously ringing, without a respite. It will become a nuisance. In those days, even though the bell was there, nobody used to ring, it seems. So that means everybody was satisfied. They didn't have any complaints. They didn't have any problems. So they were all happy. But today, it is a totally different case. The bell will always be ringing today. So anyway, that's the part of the degradation story, which we are all aware of. So, but today we will not talk about that. So we will just see what the powers that the Brahmanas had. and they could install a new king. And that's how then Prithu Maharaj was installed. And then how Prithu Maharaj was born also we know. So they had so much of powers that they could actually create a personality out of the thighs. You know that description, what happened after he was killed. Then the thigh bone was taken and it was churned, and then a being came about, and that's how then Prithu Maharaj came. So after that, then we see that the Varnashrama system which is there, it is so scientific because the Varnas and the Ashramas were created not by some human being. Who did that actually? It was actually done by the Lord himself. So, which is that shloka in Bhagavad Gita which talks about that? Varnas?
Chaturvaryam Varnyam Maya
Ah.
Guna Karma Vibhaga.
Guna Karma Vibhagasa. So the two lines are so famous and so important. We just got the two lines and move on. That's okay. So, Chaturvarna Maya Shrishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasa. So, Krishna says that it is Maya Shrishtam. I have created the Chaturvarna. And it is based on what? He's giving more details on it. I created not just like that. I created it based on the guna and karma of the individual. So based on our gunas and karmas, we can be placed in a certain varna. It's not janma karma. It is not because of birth, but it is because of the gunas that you display. So you might have a person from a Shudra family who's very sattvic. In the earlier days, that was not possible. But then today it is possible because there is no system to identify a sattvic natured person and bring him to the platform of a Brahmana. That was not there. But in the earlier days, such a system existed. How do we know that? The proof for that, there is one pastime. Does anyone, or there's a story that goes on. It's not a pastime, it's a story which talks about this particular thing that I'm referring to. Can anybody say which is that story? Just give a hint. I mean, you don't have to narrate the story. Okay, that's a slightly tricky one, but then you will know the story. You would have heard of this personality called as Satyakam. How many of you know? Satyakam Jabala. So this individual, actually he was a boy. He got this name later on. The Guru gave it. But there was this one boy in a village who used to go, and then he was very keen on learning. So he goes to the Gurukul, the Guru is there, and then he says, "Oh Guruji, I want to be enrolled. I also want to learn. So kindly allow me, give me permission to join." Then the Guru looks at him, then he realizes that he is not from a very good family, in the sense like economically not so great. But that is okay. So he says, "That is fine. You are showing so much of interest. Please tell me who's your father." Because generally that's what they ask, right? If a boy goes, then who are you? What's your father's name? That's what we all ask even now. Or the mother's name. So like that he is asked. He says, "I don't know." Okay, then what does the Guru say? The Guru says, "Go to your mother and then ask." Then the boy goes to the house. Then he says, "Amma, this is what happened. So please tell me the father's name." Then the mother says, "Son, I actually don't know the name of your father." So by this you can guess the nature of that household and who she is and what is her profession. So now the boy goes back and then he says, "My mother says, I don't know." She says she doesn't know who the father is. So he is actually going and then speaking the truth. Generally, if such a scenario is there, then a person will try to cover it up. And then he will not speak the truth. But this boy, he didn't hold back. He said, "This is what my mother told, so I don't know." Then the Guru recognizes the fact that he is speaking the truth, or he is not afraid to speak the truth. And then he says that you are always speaking the truth. You have Sattva Guna in you. So you must definitely be the son of a Brahmana. So I will take you. And then he takes him in. And then he is such an expert learner, then he's named as Jabala, but then he gets this prefix Satyakam. So that means like he's always speaking the truth, something like Satya Harishchandra kind of a scenario. So Satyakam Jabala. So this Satyakam, then there are some other things that happen. He does some other thing. But then the whole point is that they accepted and then they were enrolled and then they were coached to become Brahmanas because they saw that particular quality. So there are these stories of a situation where the guru recognized and then he was brought to that platform, to the right platform where he should belong, not ignored because of the what do you call, the society position or stature. He was not ignored like that, or he was not driven away or anything like that. So in this way, we can understand how what existed before and what is here now are two different things, and what is here now is a very contaminated version of what existed before. Contaminated to such an extent that people don't want to talk about it. The moment you talk about Varna and Ashrama, people say, no, 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 don't even bring that subject matter, because they have actually rejected it. But rejection is not sign of intelligence. We should actually correct it and then take it forward and pass it on to the next generation. That is what we are supposed to do, right? If there is something that is going wrong, we should correct it and then we should pass it on to the next generation. But we have rejected it, so the next generation doesn't have what to take. And so everybody has become a Shudra. Anyway, that is how Kali Yuga is supposed to progress. So it is again as per the Lord's plan only. But then within that plan also there is a silver lining. What is that silver lining? Even though we are Shudras, we are in Kali Yuga, but still there is a wonderful opportunity for us to reach the topmost position. Even though we don't know anything, we can still aspire for the topmost position, which is love of Godhead. We can make our life so perfect that we can still attain this topmost position, which is love of Godhead, which in the earlier days used to take so many generations. One has to be born, reborn, and then finally come to the stage of Vasudeva Sarvamiti. There is a shloka that talks about it, right? Bhavanam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapaddante Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Yeah, thank you. So, like that, we see there is this process that has been given to us. So, we're also fortunate that because of this process, because of the mercy of the Parampara, because of the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Guru Parampara, because of the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we are able to sit here and then talk on Shrimad Bhagavatam, listen, talk, and then advance ourselves, sitting in the comfort of our homes, thanks to Zoom, thanks to technology. Prabhupada taught us how to engage technology in the service of Krishna and thereby, make our effort to advance. This is so wonderful. No? Otherwise, in the earlier days, before Zoom days, 15 years back, if you have to listen, then you have to go to that temple. You have to go to the place where it is happening, a temple or a house or whatever. Sit and then listen and come. So much of effort was there. Now, after this, after COVID, it has become even more simpler. So every bad thing, there is such silver lining that is there. And then there is something good that turns out of the bad thing. That's how you see Krishna is arranging things for us, because we want to progress in Krishna consciousness. It is just that our intention is how pure we are. Not pure as an individual, but how pure is our intention. Our intention is to progress in Krishna consciousness, and that intention is pure. That itself is enough to take us forward. We may not be pure, but that doesn't mean that we don't have to be pure. We can just keep the intention, right? That's not the takeaway from what I'm trying to say. It is just that He's so merciful that even if the intention is good, it is fine. That is why He's called as what? There is a word that we use. Anybody knows that? You will know. Some of you know it. He's called Bhavagrahi Janata. Thank you so much, Shrimadaji. So it is the bhava that is important, and then he accepts that. So this way, by chanting, and then we have a process which we can take on to, which you all have taken to, and then we can advance ourselves. And continuing in that process, so we will go on to the next shloka, which is what? Okay, so Varnashrama we saw. We saw how the Varnashrama, actually we saw the distorted view of Varnashrama we all know. But the actual view we are seeing in the pages of these shlokas. The first view was of the Brahmana and the work of a Brahmana, or the duty of a Brahmana, where he is a kingmaker. Up to Chanakya Pandit it was there. He was a kingmaker. He knew the right person to be brought about so that he will rule wisely and then unite all the people who were divided. Why that was needed? Why that kind of, what do you call that? annexation of lands was done by Chandragupta Maurya, because he wanted to unite the people under one rule, one philosophy, and that is Sanatana Dharma. So Chanakya Pandit went about doing that. So like that, they are all kingmakers. And then once the right person is identified, then they work in a way that that person is able to rule wisely. So here also, Prithu Maharaj is identified and he's come on the scenario and he is there. But then, because King Vena was a bad individual, the earth had withheld its, and it was not giving out the food that was needed, like a mother in a bad mood. So now to correct that, what happened? What is happening is what we are seeing now. So now, because there was no food, what will the citizens do? They all go to the king. Now they have a new king. Oh, there is a new king. So there is some hope for us. So with that hope, all the citizens are going to the king. And there they are talking. They are saying, "Oh king, we are hungry." How they are saying? It is like how when a fire is burning the tree, the hollow of the tree, the tree dries up or it dies, right? In the same way, we are also dying. How? Because we have this Jatragni in us, that is in the stomach, there is a fire which is called as Jatragni. And that is that fire which is responsible for our digestion. Our digestion is good if the Jatragni is good. If the Jatragni is cold, then there is no digestion. So like when we have fever, the Jatragni is very, very low. And because it is low, we don't feel hunger. And whatever we eat, it still remains like that, So anyway, so because there is this fire in our stomach and that is burning us, because it should burn the food, but there is no food going in. So it is actually burning us only, and we will die because of that. We have been, that means we have been hungry for too long a duration. But then you are a king, and then on top of it, you are also an incarnation of the Lord. So you are a double king, like, King itself is enough, but then you're a king, and then you're also the incarnation of the Ananta Koti Brahmanda Nayaka, who is the supreme king. So in this way, they are praising the king, and then they are saying that we are come to you. Please satisfy our hunger by ensuring there is proper distribution of food grains. Please take care of us, lest we die of want of food. So this way, they are praying to the king. The king actually is also now contemplating after he hears this plea from the citizens. Then he is thinking, after the lamentations, he is seeing their pitiable condition. That is for him to see. He doesn't have to think. He can see they are starved. Now he wants to know why they are starving. There is no food grain that is there. Why there is no food grain? See, that is the duty of the king. He wants to go to the root of the problem and then try to address it there. So he is going to the root by contemplating on this matter. So in that, it is given that Prithu Maharaj could understand that there was no food by seeing them. And he could also realize that the availability of food was scarce. And this availability of food was scarce because of two reasons. One is, what are the two reasons that can be there for the food to be scarce? One is they are not doing their work properly. The farmers are not doing their work properly. That means they are lazy. They are not growing, because see, farming needs a lot of physical work. If one is lazy, then one will not be able to do farming. Correct, na? Right time, you have to do the right things. Ask any farmer, they will tell you. Or any farming family you ask, they will tell you how strenuous it is. You don't have to be a farmer. If you are born in the family of a farmer itself, is like there is so much of hard work is there. So then, is it because they are lazy that they are not doing their work and they are the fields are left unattended, thereby we are not getting the grains? He contemplated on that. Then he realized that no, it is not that case. It is not the case. Second case, where the people are hardworking, they are struggling so much, but somebody is withholding it. No, they're not giving, making it difficult. Who's withholding?
Mother Earth.
Mother
Mother Earth. Yeah, Mother Earth is withholding. So he realizes that in his contemplation, in his meditation, he is able to see all of this. And then he takes action. What is that action he is taking? That is coming up in the shloka 12 and 13. In 12, what it says, after hearing this lamentation and seeing the pitiable condition of the citizens, King Prithu contemplated this matter for a long time to see if he could find the underlying causes. And then he has to take a correction action after he understood. Having arrived at a conclusion, the king took up his bow and arrow and aimed them at the earth, exactly like Lord Shiva, who destroys the whole world out of anger. So here Prabhupada says that King Prithu found out the cause for the scarcity of food grains. He could understand that it was not the people's fault, for they were not lazy in executing their duties. It is like sometimes, the question paper itself was so tough that all the students failed. There could be two reasons for all the students failing. One is they were not prepared, or the question paper was tough. So how do we figure out that? The teacher or whoever is there, they have to see that. So when they realize that they have put in the hard work, they have studied, they have done everything, but they asked something else, so they failed. So that is okay. The problem is somewhere else, but it's not with the children, because they have done their duty. So like that, these people have done. They were not lazy. It is because the earth was not producing sufficient food grains. This indicates that actually earth can produce sufficiently if everything is properly arranged. If Mother Earth is pleased, then she can give abundantly. This concept, modern day, what they think? Oh, population is so big, we cannot feed. That is not correct reasoning. Population is not the reason for starvation. The reason for starvation is adharma, or the mentality of the people who are living. The so many atrocities that are going on, that it burdens Mother Earth. Bhumi, Mother Earth is burdened by these sins. And that sins burden she cannot take. She can take another 1 billion person on earth. The weight is not going to matter for Mother Earth. When they say burdened by human beings, we are not referring to the physical weight. We are talking about the mental weight, which is the sins that are going on, the atrocities, and the attitude of the people, the envy, the greed, all these negative qualities. If they keep on increasing, then the situation becomes unbearable for Mother Earth. That is why she'll time and again she'll go and complain to her king. Who's her king? She of course goes to Brahmadev. Then Brahma takes her to who?
Vishnu.
Shirodaka Sai Vishnu.
Shirodaka Sai Vishnu. Thank you. So it goes there. And then they complain. Then Avatara happens. Glanar Bhavati. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanar bhavati bharata.
Abhyuttanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham.
So Krishna says, whenever there is a decline in the religious principles, then I come about. So, and then I lessen the burden of Mother Earth. Lessening of burden of Mother Earth means ensuring that dharma is put back, or punarstapana, or it is re-establishing the tenets of dharma. That is another paritrana. The next shloka, na? Yeah, Naimisha, you want to say that next shloka? Paritranaya sadhunam.
Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chadushritam dharma samstapanadaya sambhavami yuge yuge.
So he comes to kill the miscreants and re-establish the dharma, the principles of dharma. So that is why he comes. So that Mother Earth becomes her normal self. And then she gives out abundantly all the things. So the moment you sow, then sow a seed or do farming, anything that you do, you get abundant fruits. Otherwise, the fruit is very, very less. So this is the view of Shrimad Bhagavatam, which people have forgotten, and they think it is like that. In fact, Prabhupada, when he's traveling, we know that Prabhupada traveled to so many countries. And then in Africa and all, when he used to travel by train or by road, whatever, internally when he used to go about, then he used to see, he has mentioned it actually. He says, I see so many open spaces in this whole world. Actually, there is no shortage of open spaces. You cultivate those spaces, grow food grains, then there is no poverty at all in the whole world, not just India. Even in the whole world, there will be no poverty. But most of our problems are created by us only, man-made problems. We have built boundaries, we have built states, we have built, countries, nations, and each nation doesn't help the other nation. they are like, they want to exploit the other nation. So where will this aspect of sharing of resources come in? Even simple things like water, we are not able to share properly. So we don't seem to, we want it for ourselves only and not for the other person. So when, I mean, on both sides, I'm not taking any sides here. Generally, that is the view. So there is no view of, okay, we have this, let us share it equally. Or I have this much, or you take little, I will keep this. Oh, no, you need more. Okay, you take this much. That type of conversations are unheard of, especially in politics, in people who are governing us. So that is where this aspect of, in fact, Prabhupada is saying, if all the land is cultivated, then so much of food will be produced so that everybody can be fed many, many times. But that is not happening because of the barriers that we have created. To give an example of this barrier, US actually has excess grain when actually India was suffering. In fact, it was in the news in the 70s where US used to dump means like put it into the ocean, tons and tons of wheat, because they didn't want so many. It is like they just threw it away. They didn't want to give it to another nation which is struggling. So in this way, people have acted foolishly. They continue to act foolishly. But the only result or the solution is spiritual solution, where everybody understands that we are part and parcel of the Lord. Then we realize that everybody has a right to it, not just part and parcel, so you give, and you're not doing any charity by giving. Okay, having a charity mind is good, but then better than that is to realize that he also has an equal right to what is here, because everything belongs to the Lord, and the Lord has given a quota. Okay, it so happens that it is in your jurisdiction or it's in under your custody, but that doesn't mean that you are the owner of it. You will have to give it. That is how in the earlier days they were all functioning. And the earlier days, the society, how it was functioning is very difficult for us to understand today, because we have a clue to that. In the earlier days, and even the Britishers, when they were here, there was famine in Bengal. And a visitor from England, one of like maybe the viceroy or somebody like that, when he came and then he saw so much of suffering, but there was no revolution, there was no revolting. Everybody accepted that it was their karma or whatever, and then they went on with their lives. He said if the same thing had happened in any other country, there would have been a riot, there would have been a revolution. People would have broken open the granaries and taken the grains, and they would have moved on. Here, not a single such thing happened. That was how society was. That is the society of Sanatana Dharma. I mean, I'm not saying we have to be like that. What I'm saying is, look at the consciousness of those people. They were not conscious of, oh, me, mine, I have to get, my right. No. But today, democracy has cultivated that. At the drop of a hat, there is demonstrations. Everybody wants something. And if they don't get it, then they'll go out on a demonstration. But they don't, it's all for themselves, there's less and less for others. So there are a lot of gaps in the society that we can see. I mean, I'm just giving some few examples. That's all. The idea is not to paint a gloomy picture, but then the picture is gloomy. We need to accept that. And there is a solution, and that solution is in Sanatana Dharma. And that's what Prabhupada is trying to bring out. So from this, these verses, we get an idea of how the duty of the king, so much patience he had, and to get to the root cause and then find out. And then what is the corrective action he took? We will see that later in the coming verses. In the coming days, you will see that. But the point is how they were complete and how they were fair to everybody and how they ensured that the weak was protected and how they made sure that whatever resources is there is not mine. I'm only a custodian. That was the viewpoint even the king had. The king, his granaries were full, his coffers were full. It just means that I'm taking custody of these things. Whenever my subjects need it, I'll give it to them. So that was the mood, because it was all accumulated, but that accumulation was for the need of the subjects. Whenever, like say some crops fail a certain year, then the granaries were opened up so that people would come and then take and go, and so that they don't die of hunger. So worry is not there. Anxiety is not there. Again, back to the same point. So when there is no anxiety, that means then if there is no worry, no anxiety, then that paves the way for what? Why we should a king used to take care of the subject in a way that they don't have any worry and anxiety, so that who can complete that?
They
There
can
is peace
focus
in
on
harmony,
the
Prabhuji.
devotional service and focus
Absolutely.
on the
So that
Lord.
they dedicate their time for Adhyatmika, for understanding Krishna, for hearing Krishna Katha. So that otherwise what happens? Oh, yo, there is no food now. After this class, what should I do? That kind of a scenario is not there. So they are more comfortable. So that's the whole point. So this is how they ruled us. This is how the Brahmanas guided. This is how the Kshatriyas ruled. This is how the Vaishyas produced. And that is how the Shudras worked also. Because they worked under one of them. So naturally they were aligned in a way that there was no anxiety for any of them. They just did their dharma. Then the free time is there, so that's how then the kings also built so many temples. If you see, the king's duty was that only. Excess money, okay, build a temple so that people can come to the temple and worship the Lord. And then they engaged Brahmanas to sit in those temples and then give pravachan and all of that. So the whole ecosystem was so different, in those days. And the Brahmanas were supported by the Vaishyas, so any food grain, because they were not working, they were not given any salary, so they used to give the produce to them. So these are systems that existed, even some, like in my grandfather's days also, I've heard that is how it was in the villages. So it's only recently, the couple of decades, where it has been completely wiped out. But early, at least some resemblance to what I'm speaking was there before, where every Vaishya, every farmer, like these communities that are there, right? Like the Chettiar families or any of these families, even in Karnataka, the Gaudas, they all had a lot of respect for the Brahmana families, and they used to kind of take care of them. And then they used to encourage them to do temple work and then, pravachan in the evening so that the people benefit. That was happening. So anyway, so we've come a long way from that. I don't know if it is called progress, but then Prabhupada actually is showing us the right way in making sure that we still use our time to discuss Krishna Katha. And we saw how it is so joyful. There is no satiation. So everybody is so joyful. Tushyanti cha, Ramayanti cha, and so on and so forth. So these were some of the points that were relevant for the verses that we saw today. And that's what I just presented to you all. So I'll stop here. It's 10:30, right time. So I can stop here. If there are any thoughts or questions, please go ahead based on whatever we saw today. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol,
Thank you so much.
Hari Bol, Prabhu. Wonderful, wonderful class.
Krishna.
Simple talk, simple verses, but were very helpful. Hare Krishna. Anybody has questions can raise their hands or open up the mic and ask, please. Prabhu, there are no questions, it seems. Should we do our prayers, Prabhu?
Sorry, I couldn't hear what you said, Mataji.
I'm saying there are no questions.
Oh,
Can
yeah.
we do our
Okay.
prayers, Prabhu?
Okay, then we can do the prayers. Because I only heard the prayers. So sorry. Yeah, we can do that.
Sorry,
So
Prabhu.
there aren't any questions. So that's nice to know. So we can complete. Shloka covered today. Somebody is asking up to Shloka 13. We've covered 8 to 13 in the 7th chapter of the 4th canto. 17th chapter of the 4th canto. Sorry. So that was what we covered. Okay, so we can conclude for today. Thank you so much for patiently listening. Vancha
Vaishnavedyo namo namaha. Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Raj Shrimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank
Dandavat
you,
pranam.
Prabhuji.
Dandavat
Dandavat
pranam.
pranam. Thank you,
Thank you,
Mataji.
Prabhuji. Dandavat
Hare Krishna
pranam.
to all
Hare
devotees.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you, Prabhuji. Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Should I end the class, Prabhu?
Yes, please, Mataji.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. We can
Hare
conclude.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.